Thank you very much, Rachel. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Is there going to be a tiebreaker in this group? It will all be decided. China versus France. Yesterday we saw France falling, somewhat unsurprisingly, I don't know, maybe to the French at home. They've had to fight with home fans and fans at home, away from home, I should say. The Thailand game, it was so close, so close. Could have gone either way, but now they're in this awkward situation where they have to beat China.
That's right. They want to try and create this three-way tie. And I mean, if you're France here as well, despite what everyone have been saying about the team, they're still good enough to get out of this group, in my opinion. So it's going to be King's Row to start things off here. It's a best of three. Well, then we're moving on to Hanamura. And if we need it, Lijiang Tower. The latter, which was the issue, I guess, for the French squad, as we saw Thailand just put their nose to the grindstone and outplay them in the brawl scenarios on that control map.
Of course, China coming into this one, they were big favourites for the group, but they've been far from impressive, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, this group's so volatile and so interesting as well. It's also one where it's very difficult to read or to have an idea of what you're going to be walking into. This map, however, King's Row, is quite a staple map in the Chinese scene. King's Row and Hollywood, as is in many scenes, are the most popular here. And I mean, I've seen especially good things from both IG Fire and Snake Esports on this map, of which many of their members are in this Chinese conglomerate of players. For France, I mean, for them, they should be familiar with this map as well. We were generally impressed by them. I think Kitty was also a big part of the reason why France was so good at attacking on this map, out-healing a lot of the damage that Oputo was able to do last night. But again, different team, different game, different match, different mindset. And it'll be interesting to see what France bring in. But for China as well, Jamley will be on that McCree here. So still a threat, still needs to be respected. As we know, he hits incredible accuracies. And if there's follow-up, he'll be getting mad kills. And that's Pangu has a very high sensitivity.
Well, not for the first time today. We're seeing a Zenyatta. So Lincoln bringing that to the table. We'll see whether it works out for him. Are we going to see Crew? He looks like he's going to be sticking with this Widowmaker, you know. He's got a little eye. Okay, now he's going to make the switch, it looks like. We're going to see the Bastion changed out as well. But Crew is going to go on to Farah. Okay, hello.
Yeah, it's a response. He saw the Winston so close. If YJP jumped up and put a shield in the window, then Crew's wasting time trying to play Widowmaker and break through the bubble. Yeah,
indeed. So here we go. Going to get around the side. Deegan also on that Hanzo. So very interesting setup. Nox going on towards the Zaya instead. So complete little change around from France. Clearly had a bit of a discussion last night, figuring out each other's roles, how they want to best approach this one in China. It is a big game. They know they have to win it, and they're going to have to push around first on the statue.
Crew is yet to really find significant damage here, or enough that France can turn that into a kill. Ideally, Crew gets some damage with some AoE, and D-Gun finishes him off there with a scatter arrow or something similar. But look at this. Crew uses that concussive blast to get himself in position. The problem is this just became a lot riskier because the rest of France have been taken down, and Crew is just going to end it himself.
Yeah, just finish himself off there. Don't want to give any more. Ulti charge, YJP making the charge, dispersing France and going aggressive. So China strike first. 1 minute down, 3 minutes to go on this hybrid map of King's Row. You've got to capture this initial point to get the payload unlocked and then move it through into the foundry. That's a big charge going off the screen there. It was Mikolo that get caught up there, and nano boosted Pangu going straight through. Meng Mao getting himself a couple of kills, and France are executed once again. China, very aggressive play, working out well for them.
Yeah, this triple tank setup for them does play nicely. I mean, they don't need to worry too much about putting Meng Mao on something like Reaper when they give themselves such a wide palette of tank players here. That's why we're going to see that nano boost pretty much go into Pangu every single time. Jamley doesn't necessarily need it.
About sitting at the back, keeping everyone topped off. Graviton Surge catches, what, 5 members of France there. Nox getting picked off. Jamley gets himself a quick double with the Deadeye from distance. And China hold again. 2 minutes and counting is all that remains. France, they have to get things going.
I really like that by Pangu, actually. He could have charged as soon as the Graviton came in, but he waited. He waited for Jamley to start channeling Deadeye. Then he charged. Mikolo couldn't shield his team, and Jamley gets 2 kills off that one. So that's a good way to take the win straight out of France of Sales. And now they've got to come back stronger. Some ultimates are here. They've got an Earth Shatter. They've got a Dragon Strike. They need to put these to good use now as trying to give some ground.
Pangu goes deep, but Mikolo just off the side. He's going to get quickly sleep darted down there. Pangu taken very low. YJP though picks off Deegan, goes aggressive, but France are starting to pick up some kills. Jamli has still not been dealt with though. Meng Mao gets himself a quick one. The Deadeye comes out. Jamli gets the response, and that is exactly what China needed. They were in danger of falling short there, but they pick up enough kills and they hold strong again.
You're starting to get a little bit concerned if you are France, who have all the tools in the kit, but for some reason, they're just not finding their mark. Now, again, China is going to have Pangu, who is going to be nano boosted, and it will have an Earth Shatter available. France don't have a heck of a lot to deal with that unless Mikolo lands a good Earth Shatter. He's going to need to charge the rampaging Pangu out of the way. D-Gun going to go towards Genji, knocks on the Winston here. Let's hope this works.
I'll see if it works out. YJP's been causing them problems. Every time they've gone in, he's jumped on the back line. Nox goes down early. D-Gun gets picked off. They tried the Winston combo with the Genji to go aggressive. It has not worked out. Mikolo gets around. That's the tank down now for China. Pangu gets picked off. The Graviton Surger comes in from China. Is it going to be enough to fill them up? It will be. Naibe comes through. Crew's going to try and get what he can, but look at the marker. Nobody on there. China clear it out. It is 30 seconds left now for France.
And we've said China's been maybe a little bit unconvincing over this group, but to be honest, their other two matches were against Thailand and, of course, over against Singapore. The latter not really giving them much. China look rock solid here. 20 seconds left. France have got to go now.
They have to make it count. Jamli is not too sure off Deadeye. 99%, there it is, locks it in and immediately pulls the trigger. Can he manage to find anyone though? Nobody shows for him, doesn't manage to get the kill, but Pangu has. He's managed to find Mikolo around the side. Meng Mao gets Crew down, and France are falling fast. Pangu swings the hammer, knocks them down, and France are not going to even cap out the first point. China will hold strong.
That is brutal. The Chinese team looking almost unassailable from that position there as well. Notice that Jamli, for most of that round, was pretty much untouched. You can see YJP here as well. This is just a good capitalization here after trying to give ground. They allow France to move on to the point. They know they've got a Graviton Surge available. Notice YJP's ult just ticks up there, so even if, you know, it wasn't as clean from China, we could have held them off for even longer. The killer edge is not there, and we saw France cycle through quite a few different heroes to try and get some progress. The Pharah, to begin with, from Crew, he got rid of that one fairly quickly. The Genji Winston, that was the aggressive last gambit from France to try and dive into the back line and get rid of someone like Jamli or Naiba. But the defense, the triple tank from China, was too hard. France could not break through.
So France now have it on themselves to hold this point for 4 minutes. If they can do that, we'll have a draw. And we'll move on to the next map, which will be, of course, Hanamura. But as it stands, that is all China need. They just need to cap out that first point and they will win the first map. It is a best of 3, and Pangu's going wild.
I mean, if you do this, I mean, there's actually method to the madness there as well. Obviously, Reinhardt's hammer swings in quite a wide arc, so in some situations, I think you can sort of increase your coverage via erratic mouse movements. And also, you see some Reinhardts who know they're kind of dead, but want to try and stay alive as long as they can. Gentlemen, can you behave yourself, please?
I'm not really sure what the observer's trying to show us here.
I think Crew's just chill. I think he's maybe fixing the kneecap armor of Reinhardt there as well, just making sure Mikolo's got open sword. Yeah, so that's the issue here. China now going to be switching over to a little bit more of aggressive comp. Meng Mao coming off the Zarya, picking up the Reaper. The Zarya goes over towards YJP, or Pow Pow as he's known, who's also a great Zarya player in his own right. Still, this common themely of Zarya players and flexing we've been talking about over today holds true here as China now have a more aggressive option available to them.
Well, they're going to be going with the Reaper. So Meng Mao, no Hanzo this time around. China coming in with a fairly standard meta, the 2-2-2 split. Here we go, straight through the middle. They're going to go up around the side. They're going to take the balcony approach. They're going to go for the full flank. Are France prepared for it? You can see Deegan sat there. It's kind of separating the fact obviously he's going to be going for the ice wall. And at the moment, it's not going to work out for them. So they've kind of distracted the fact they're not going to get cut off of the wall, but they've actually backed away because Deegan managed to get himself a quick icicle to Meng Mao.
And there's no reason for China to try and push aggressively off this. It's unlikely they take the 5v6, and they're going to give some ultimate percent over to France for the damage they've done. So why not just wait for Meng Mao? You know you've got 3 minutes plus to work with here. Eventually, China do need to get into gear, but now you can see a bit of a change of tact. They're going to make their way up towards the top of this area, and they can jump down, so they can circumvent that wall location that D-Gun would try and sort of, you know, cut them off from. Still, the wall's available now, hard to use when the statue is the centerpiece of this fight, though.
But he can still catch him out. They're going to go through the hotel around the side. They get straight onto Alphacast. He gets picked off. Lucio goes down. That is not a good sign for France, and they're in trouble already. Mikolo manages to get a response, though. Meng Mao's taken very low, has to hop into Wraith Form to get away from it. Jamli gets around the side, gets the flashbang down, cannot cannot get the kill though. Can't finish off Nox. The big shield Damien a day, but the rest of his team have fallen. That is China taking the first point. There's nothing that France can do. And the Alphacast is just a mere blow in the wind. He will go down, and China take the first map.
And that's Gem Lee, sharp as a surgeon scalpel going in with that flash to isolate Alphacast at the start of that fight. And then Meng Mao, definitely the blunt object there by comparison. He comes in, easy finish though, nicely done by China. They take that point quite comfortably after a little bit of a messy first push. They get around that Mei wall, and D-Gun couldn't stop them from pouring in.
Well, that is a dominant performance from China. Let's have a word from Lincoln.
我出生是在云南的昆明，然后是大家所谓的春城嘛 ，Spring City。但是呢，就我个人来说，因为特别喜欢电竞嘛，就我想这方面有所追求，所以就先离开了家乡，来到了上海，包括来到了暴雪嘉年华，来到了洛杉矶。我觉得这是一个非常适合我的机会，然后我想把握住这个机会。我在开始打守望先锋之前，我给自己的2016年定了3个目标。 然后第一个是加入 IG 俱乐部，第二个是拿下一个中国区的冠军，然后第三个就是来到暴雪嘉年华。然后我觉得我一步一步的都实现了这些目标。看我这个人吧，我其实不太在意这个，因为我无法去改变别人对我的看法，或者说去强行把自己的想法去强加给别人。 我在这个行业里，我只能把自己立给自己的目标去一一的完成，就实现自我价值。
Well, one of those goals may well be achieved. They are one map away from a clear 3-0 in the groups.
It's interesting. Lincoln also speaks from, I guess, a perspective of maybe a team that receives a lot of criticism from their fans. China didn't exactly get the soft end of the stick from their fans after APAC there as well. Obviously, only one team was really in the semi-finals, and that was a bit of a stomp. So, you know, it's good to see him with that attitude. Also, the French team had to have the same one here. But map 2, Lee, it's going to be Hanamura now. France just, again, lacking the killer edge. They really needed to actually be able to get to grips with China on that last map. So here they're going to start off on the defensive side, and China gets to continue that role of momentum, being able to obviously attack twice now. We've seen they've been quite effective at it. Oh, yeah. Crew, this is cute.
Just chuck Crew up on the roof, why not? Okay. Just see if he can, how long he can hold that position. But going back to that first game, love to see what the analyst desk have to say about it. It seemed that obviously they basically counted on the fact that there was going to be a Mei and just completely removed it from the map. And then, of course, France were kind of caught huddled on the point, and they just flanked around. And it was a perfect pincer move. It worked very well. Love to see it on the replay. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. France on the defense against China. China just need the single map, and they're going to be taking it 3-0, and France will go out the tournament. They have to try and pick up the win here.
Right, so Crew needs to get a lot done from that high position, and it's actually hard to get consistent damage from there because there is a drop-off. The wall comes up. No, China was supposed to use that to get into the small room, but instead, YJP can't access that one because he's been shot up. That was his own wall. Things kind of going wrong here for China. This wasn't the way it was supposed to go, and now Nox going to be able to push back. He's on the Zaya here. That means they're going to be asking for a lot from Crew on the DPS role.
They're going to get separated. It's going to be a Zaya onto Mei. They're trying to do what they can. Beam back and forward. YJP gets himself back into the ice block. They have managed to successfully defend this. It was a chaotic situation there. Yeah. So what happened was YJP put his wall down. They tried to give themselves a free run into this side room there. But it was answered by D-Gun throwing the wall up, which threw him in the air and then put him on top of his own wall. It was a crazy, weird situation to start with.
It was actually China's wall that they were standing on there as well. Yeah. So it was actually just placed too short, and that could be because line of sight was blocked by the French wall. Normally the Chinese team would want to go in the side room, go up the top,
the double
drop
wall
down.
Again.
Yeah. So. In the last round, China circumvented the wall locations well on King's Road. You can't do that here. You have to eventually push through. You need to bait the wall, and they've done that well now. Blizzard comes out for YJP, and China starts to get their hands dirty.
Cruz managed to get himself a quick early kill, but that's going to be quickly responded. Meng Mao gets himself Crew and Kitty down, gets himself a third on Mikolo, and suddenly China pouring onto the point. Deegan's doing what he can, gets himself on the wall, tries to keep himself alive, and he has done just about enough. France hold on in a 3-on-3. Dangerous situation there. And China, they know they're going to be coming back from that respawn quick. And you can see France, they try and respond, they go aggressive, and they hold the doors.
And you can see Nox as well, definitely a proficient Zaya. I mean, yesterday we saw him and Mikolo actually, while Crew was playing DPS, both have top damage. Don't count this guy out. He's a very, very good Zaya. But Meng Mao also has a Graviton. So we could have a weird mutual Graviton situation. You see that wall coming up here as well, making it hard for France to put one of their own You just need to respect that there's going to be a wall coming from the defending side here, and you need to work around that fact. So wall comes up there, you can see that it doesn't necessarily block that one out, as line of sight was still available for D-Gun there, but it breaks down. China going to come forward.
The awkward moment is, of course, that Nox could easily land his Graviton Surge, gets himself, what, 4 people in there. Mikhail manages to come swinging through, gets the boosted hammer, and will get himself a bunch of kills, whereas Meng Mao, well, he hasn't got that fortunate opportunity. The Chinese team have to gather, have the group to come through that door. Makes it very easy for Nox to land that big Graviton Surge.
Yeah, not sure about seeing Sound Barrier used there in that fight. We had a Graviton Surge, a Nano Boost on Mikolo, a Sound Barrier, and the Earth Shatter used from France. That's honestly a lot being used. I'm not sure they were a little bit nervous here. I mean, I don't know if they really needed the Sound Barrier. The fight was already won on the back of what they used. Trouble.
Look at the ulti now for China. They're going to have Jamli, they're going to have Lincoln, they're going to have Meng Mao, they've got YJP, they've got Naibai. They're really in a problem here. You can see they're going to try and push around the side. Naibai, sorry. I'll get his name correct one of these days, but that's going to be the Deadeye used by Crew. They do manage to pick off Lincoln, so that's going to help out. No Sound Barrier is going to be coming through. There's the Blizzard to stop things dead. That's going to be actually the Reaper ultimate being used there. The Death Blossom was pulled, but he got frozen solid before he was able to do anything. I believe he got nano boosted at the same time, so really good defense from France.
You heard his ult sound cue actually play while he was frozen. Okay, so China need to deal with Crew. This is one thing that they probably need to be thinking about right now, is that Crew's not really being tested. You can see how comfortable he could be up on that right balcony. No one can really interact with him on the side of China unless like Jam Lee can sort of get up in his face, but Crew has it pretty easy now, and now time's running out. It's 20 seconds and China have to go. Otherwise they're going to lose all that momentum they got in the last map.
They've got Blizzard, they've got themselves Graviton Surge, but they get Earth-Shattered instantly the second they come around. They pull the Graviton Surge out, but Nox and Kitty already picked themselves up a couple of kills.
Blizzard.
The hammer starts swinging. Crew gets himself one on Meng Mao. The Blizzard goes down, but it doesn't matter. France have already evacuated the area, and China are suddenly in all sorts of problems. They've got 2 seconds. They're going to get on point, but it's not even there. They didn't even get on the point in time. And France will hold solid. Big mistake there from China.
China are unable to make any progress at all there. Good work by France, really. They had the good setup. They stayed cool, literally, actually, with the amount of make use on that map. The Blizzards were well employed by D-Gun. And also the responses, the responsive walls. When you see an enemy Mei, you need to realize that you can't actually use your wall first on defense because, well, the enemy's going to have a wall up to allow them to actually get in onto the point without really being shot. You can sort of break line of sight. Also want to point out the Soldier 76 jacket on Mikolo right now. I'm pretty sure Muselk gave it to him because he said it was good luck for the Aussies in the prior game.
Well, China, they got to hold strong. Let's have a quick word from Naiba.
我的队友是有4个人是比较早集合在线下的，然后我是其实算是最后才加入他们的。在游戏刚刚封测的时候，然后我就已经其实就天气就经常遇到了嘛，然后就比较熟，也没有想过将来能够在一起做队友。之前我还经常喜欢看 Linkin 的直播，后来因为一些情况吧，然后我们渐渐的比较熟了之后，他问过我这个有没有这方面的想法。 刚开始我还是拒绝的，但是后来我们打得多了之后，渐渐我也找到了一些自信，我觉得非常能享受跟他们在一起打。
China 1 map up, but now on the attack, on the defense, sorry, I should say. And actually, chooses to go a little different again. Lincoln, we're seeing him once again on the Zenyatta. Crew, we'll see whether he sticks with the Bastion. He's actually at the spawn door, so he may well be. Not sold on that one, but we'll see.
The German squad did the same thing on defense here. I mean, when you don't really worry so much about engaging and disengaging because you're sort of playing around a static context or static point, you can get rid of the Lucio and for the extra little bit of damage of Lincoln. But I want to point out, Pangu on that last map had 30% of China's damage on Reinhardt. That's not ideal if you're trying to deal with France and get on the point.
Well, here we go. Crew is going to stick with it. So Bastion on the attack for France. Okay, so they're going to try a little bit of a surprise factor. Expect him to hop, jump, and set himself up around this corner. They're probably expecting the wall to be put down. Yeah. There we go. There's the wall. He sets himself up. The wall drops. Oh, hello! Up comes the Bastion, but it doesn't work out. Jamli picks him off instantly, and their little gambit absolutely backfires, and France are forced to counter and go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, perhaps you got to respect the McCree of Jamli a little bit more. I have to say, Crew did well on his McCree in that previous half there, but I like that, right? This is actually an interesting strat you can use. If the enemy team, if you can bait a wall out, you put the Bastion behind it. They haven't seen it, then their wall drops and g'day, there's a Bastion. Or you can boost your Bastion on your own wall and have like a double wall situation. Either way, The hidden Bastion is the deadliest, unless Jamlee's already got him in his sights, and Crew's going to switch off back to the McCree.
Mikolo just switched over to the Winston as well, away from the Reinhardt. So a couple of changes for France. This time they want to go a little bit more quicker into the Chinese base, but the Earthshatter was ready. There it is, straight away. Wall comes up, Earthshatter down, and France decimated.
Yeah, and it didn't require too many ults to be used there from China either. Pangu actually was the only one to use his Earthshatter. Apart from that, they've got a lot to work with here. Again, I think it's worth pointing out, Mikolo has been doing very, very well in this game as well. As the tank player, he's doing a lot of damage. Top damage on his team right now, even more than Crew's McCree in last round, and even up to Xayah. So keep an eye on him. But now the Nanoboost, look at that, Mikolo getting prioritized here as well. It's his job to go in and get on the squishy backline.
Yeah, straight on the back, and he manages to find Lincoln down, gets himself a second. Jamlee picked off, and France, if they all get this point, they will win the map. And then be moving on to the third map, and at the moment it's looking like it might well happen. Mikolo still going strong. That lightning Tesla cannon will run straight through the shield, and China will be taken down on Hanamura. There's nothing they can do about it.
France literally tossing a cannonball into the backlines of China, and when you've got such squishies as Lincoln on Zenyatta and Naiba as well, who's not very mobile, neither of them are, it's easy pickings for that one. Nicely done, France. Get that first point. That's all that was required, and they're going to make it one apiece. We're going to a third.
Well, when you saw King's Row, you were a little fearful of what on earth was going on, but I can tell you, we're now into tiebreaker potential situation. 2-1 to France would make it a crazy tiebreaker situation. Of course, you've got to be looking at the next game. Let's not get ahead of Thailand. Let's not get ahead of this one. Sure. Thailand, Singapore, of course, could happen. But let's have a quick word from the French team.
Before Team France even had a chance to prove themselves to the world, they had to prove themselves to France itself.
Initially, when our team got announced, we got a lot of, well, criticism, from the community.
Everyone back in France had something to say about the team, why there wasn't more pro players or even people that they didn't know in this team.
We have a very unusual team comp for a World Cup team. In the French team, there's actually only 2 pro players and 1 semi-pro.
Me and the crew on Digan are the pro players for this team, and we just try to see who is the best for each heroes. Because of some weakness player, we have to stick on one lineup.
We adapt to each other's playstyle and really become a united team.
Even after proving themselves in-game and online, the French team still had to fight for approval from their fans to even be considered a legitimate threat in the World Cup.
We're kind of always the underdogs, and that's what makes us fun to watch.
It's fun to be the underdog. We practice a lot, try to show that we can still win games against pro player.
I think we managed to show that if we stick together and if we just try our best, France can still be a strong country in this World Cup.
And what a turn of events we have right here. France picking up the win over Hanamura on China, or the other way around. Over China on Hanamura. I think that's where I was going with that one. But now we have this crazy situation. A tie potential is on the cards. Yes. If China would have took it, well, they still can. It's going to be on Lijiang Tower now. They managed to beat Thailand on Lijiang Tower, remember, so there's still plenty of potential, whereas France themselves lost to Thailand on Lijiang Tower, and that is the map we're going to right now.
Yeah, I mean, and this is interesting. I'm really glad that you brought that up, Lee, because we saw a bit of a development in the French team. You know, I saw a tweet from Crew last night, and it said, "Help me, what do I play, Xayah or McCree?" He wasn't sure because that was the problem. He wanted to play Xayah, as we sort of heard Alphacast, Sebastian talk about, but he was needed on McCree, and you can see why. He was very good on Hanamura. Nox is going to start this one off on Xayah here. This is, well, a little bit unorthodox. We don't often see this kind of approach here on Lijiang Tower, but having a Bastion here for France, if they take control of the point, it'd be very hard to reclaim for the Chinese.
Well, let's see if he can get himself set up around the corner. There is no Pharah, so he doesn't need to worry about concussive blast. Gets himself set up on the table. They're going to come around the corner and immediately doesn't get the kill, but the shield will go down. There goes the flashbang, gets sleep darted, and YJP takes him down. Pangu gets himself the kill. He actually charged them off the bridge, I believe, there. He must have, because he went down with them, but China will take the point to begin with.
And you can see that, yes, Bastion does a lot of damage, but a Reinhardt shield can usually allow you to get up close enough. And that was just a matter of Jamlee hiding behind the shield, then lobbing a flashbang over, getting rid of the Reinhardt shield from Mikolo, and then the rest is history. So now, no more Bastion. Crew, again, after a cheesy pick to start off into the same Hanamura, switching back towards this McCree.
And they're immediately contesting it. You can see they get around the side. The wall goes down. They manage to separate. Pangu gets in, picked off, but Jamley manages to reply. Mikael getting taken down. So no tank for either team at the moment. 96 charge for Nox. He wants to get this beam laser under action, but YJP is going to counter it instantly, and he picks him off. And China look to be holding strong.
Yeah, YGP, one of my favorite Zayas from the Chinese region, showing us just why it's so scary. And you can see that France are, let me just say, electing to head back to spawn the quickest way possible. There's their head over the edge. They know that they've sort of got too segmented and it will be a waste of time to continue fighting, so they want to regroup and respawn as 6 and go again. There's going to be a Blizzard and a Nano Boost available for the French.
YJP fully charged up for this attack, and he's got the Graviton Surge. A whole lot of ultis ready for China. Plethora, you may want to say, as they push around this right-hand side once again. You can see 5 eliminations so far. There's the wall, separates the team. They're going to try and cut them off as best they can, but he just runs on through, pops the Graviton Surge, doesn't even use it actually, didn't need to, got himself fully charged up, and the right clicks were enough. He could get that pesky Lucio out of the window. Alphacast, you're not going to sneak in that way.
No. Trying to be a little bit sneaky. To be fair, we've seen some Lucios and even some Genjis able to do that kind of weird backcapping or just to be a distraction here, but France got a lot of ults to work with here. That's going to be quite important. We'll see how this plays out now as they bring them to you. 6 ults.
6 ults, 77%, and it's do or die time for France. They have to make themselves a mark on this map, or they're going to go out with without a whimper here on the first map on Garden. That's going to be a good start. The Blizzard goes down, but there's no follow-up really. Crew finally gets in there. There's the Deadeye. That's not what they were waiting for. Mikael gets himself one. Javelin still not been dealt with, but he's going to back off. He'll get taken down, and France will eventually take the point.
And the upside to this story, despite France having to spend a lot on this one, they got the point. They had to go. And I really got to credit them here because they don't spend everything. They could have. A lot of teams do get so desperate here.
Switch.
Kitty has the nano boost. Mikolo can make use of that. D-Gun can make use of that. And that means France haven't just blown everything just to get the point back. They can hang on.
Deegan just made the switch, actually. There's the Deadeye coming out from Jamley. Can it pick anyone off? Everybody run, hide. They managed to get away from it. Pango actually taken very low there. Mikolo's managed to pick him off. Mengmao also picked off, but he gets himself a quick double. Nox and Deegan goes down. Naibe falls off, actually. Lincoln goes down. Was that a boop? Or was that a self-sacrifice?
No, it can't have been, because China were winning the fight out there. I'd be very surprised if that actually was the case. Sometimes if you boot people off, you don't get credited for it properly if you're a Lucio, so that may have been Alpha. We'll have to see a replay. Unfortunately, we can't see everything in this game. But still, France going to back away. They maintain the point. And they spent that nano boost in the fight, but they have another ult coming for Crout.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that Mengmao obviously used his Death Blossom there, and the rest of the team elected to either sacrifice or whatever they were doing to get the respawn going. So it was an ulti used, and it really favors France quite heavily. Crew gets himself his Deadeye ready and waiting as they try and push over the bridge. That shield is looking very low. He can't quite get himself a shot though, but gets himself the one around the side. Lincoln trying to get the flank in there. Jamli goes down, and China back off again. 99% was what China got to, but France are getting close now.
Sometimes with McCree and Deadeye, it's a game of whack-a-mole. The first red skull you see, you hit the button and at least try and get that one kill. China weren't able to keep themselves scarce away from that one. It's 70% for France here. Then guess what? They got a nano boost ready to go and may even have a sound barrier and a Graviton Surge. France can do this.
China are going to try the opposite approach. They go around the backside. They've got themselves their own Graviton Surge. They try and pump it out onto the side. They catch a lot of France in there. Mengmao gets himself one. Alphacast goes down, doesn't get a sound barrier off in time. Crew gets picked up. Graviton Surge was used, but instead they're in trouble. Mikolo tries to swing for the fences, but it's not working out. China get themselves the kills. Deegan, the last man standing on the point. He's going to get picked off here. I think Wraith Form can only buy him so much time, and China will get the switch at 99%. Can anyone from France touch the point?
Alpha.
Just about. Alpha gets in there, but he's taken down instantly. He gets the reset, but it's only going to buy a small amount of time. You see the rest of the team. China will take Garden.
Good opening from China there as well. It got a little bit scary because France, they had a bank of 6 ultimates built up and China didn't. So put simply, you know, in a perfect word and all things being equal, France should win that fight. Best part is they actually had an ult left over there, the nano boost, although it didn't really have a huge impact. I don't know, there must have been some boop. Something went wrong there for China when they were actually winning the fight. But here's some stats for you here. I mean, it's definitely been YJP been performing very, very nicely. He's been playing Zaya as well. 53% average energy. D-Gun was on the Reaper, at least he switched to that one later on here. So
and the Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, this is right. This is a damage dealer in D-Gun, doing less damage than YJP on that Zaya. So that's, for me, that's respect. He is damn good at what he does, and he's going to stay on that Zara by the looks of things.
Yeah, he's been working out well for him. So, okay. France, one map down. Remember, it's 1-1 all square. Kings Row went the way of China, and Hanamura went the way of France. This is a best of 5 in this map on Lijiang to decide really whether they're going to be getting through to this tiebreaker situation. Here we go though, the exchange comes down and Crew manages to get himself the first kill, and it's on Pango.
Oh, Crew being tested by Jamli there as well. The man is sharp as attacking. Crew's just struggling to try and stay in the fight. He's forced back away now, is trying to have a little bit of control, but now it's France to flip it back. Crew finds YJP, and with Mikolo dealing with Lincoln, China can't even speed boost themselves out. They've got to huddle together, but France are going to chase them down here and try to get themselves a bit more of an advantage going into the next fight.
France hold the point. Initial exchange goes their way for the first time. China took it on Garden here on Command Center. There's 3 maps in case you're unaware, in case you're new to it. It is Night Market, the other map to come on here on Lijiang Tower, and then we'll have a random rotation. Graviton Surge comes out early. Meng Mao manages to get himself a quick couple of kills as well as Jamli, but the rest of France do chime in, and Nox on cleanup duty here along with Deegan sends them back packing to their spawn.
And France had the ult advantage as well here as well. They can build up so much of a bank in percent before China can actually respond here. It's going to be a messy fight either way, but France being ahead and having these 4 ults to go, that's a good sign.
Yeah, they're going to go aggressive because Deegan got taken out by YJP there just as they tried to push him into the spawn, which means they're able to actually take control. China are going to push onto the point to start the capping out here. The Graviton Surge goes out. It's going to force them away. They get the flip on the point before they get a kill.
And Crew, look at that spot. The perfect place to be on McCree if you can spend the time getting up there. No one could block those shots, and well, they managed to at least get the 1 kill. Jamli's also going to fall down now as well. So good little investment of time for Crew getting up on that high ground, and clever by France. They realized they'd lost D-Gun. They realized there was a window for China to sort of, I guess, manipulate and dominate the fact. They backed off the point and then came back in for the refight.
No ultis stacked up for France. They're going to have to get them things going here. Meng Mao does have his Death Blossom available, and Naiba not too far away on the nano boost. So China are in a relatively decent position to try and make a presence known on France here. Are they going to go around the right-hand side? They're going to look like to try and get the high ground, maybe. You can see Naiba has himself that ulti nano boost ready to go. Is he going to throw it onto his tank? Or is it going to be Meng Mao? Is he going to launch in there?
This is a good window. This is the window for China now as well. There's an nano boost straight away. Meng Mao the recipient. Going forward, it's going to be the Death Blossom, but he gets cut halfway through. Mikolo still falls. There's so much damage coming away from the Reaper. And once Meng Mao comes to his senses, he finds D-Gun. It's his opposite number to fall. France definitely losing out so far in this fight. Crew giving a good account of himself, but it's not going to be enough here.
Yeah, Alphacast tries the dance, but it's not going to last too long as he falls on the command center module. 93% is what they reached. It's a decent percentage.
Absolutely.
They only need to win 1 fight and they can flip it right back, and they have the ults stacking up in their favor.
Yeah, 2 big things. France drew the fight out long, so they managed to accrue 93% before it was over. And secondly, they forced a lot of ults out of China. They've got the advantage. They've got 3 ready to go, and there's a nano boost in the mix as well, which could be massive for the win push for France.
Graviton Surge now ticks in for Nox. Everybody ready, and France are purposely waiting. They know this is it. This is their chance. There's the nano boost. It goes on to Deegan. Has to come around the side. Quickly gets held up, but he didn't pull the trigger on his ulti. Hasn't got it available. The Crew comes around. Deadeye drops down.
Perfect.
Gets himself the right click, but Jamli's still going. He gets dropped off. France are going to cap the point back, and it's already at 93%. China are in trouble. If they fall completely here, they're not going to be out of time to get back on. 98% and counting. They will take command center. It is 1-1.
A good recovery there from France, and maybe they've found their rhythm, and maybe they've found the formula that's going to be working for them now going forward. With Crew on the McCree and Nox on the Zaya, if they can agree that that's just going to be the way it stays, then they don't have to worry about who plays what here. They stick to what works. Crew, excellent round from him and Nox. I mean, you put a lot of weight on these guys' shoulder to do the work, but between them they've got over half the team's damage. It's what you expect. 57% average energy for Nox, 48 for YJP, who's been doing very, very well. But again, it's all about this McCree-Zarya combo on this map. It's been the most important for both teams. It's all about who has the better mix.
And of course, who wins that initial fight? It's gone China's way on Garden. It went France's way on Command Center. And both teams who won out first won the map. Who will take it this time around? Crew's going to be leading the charge with the McCree, looking for Jamli. Pango actually went down pretty early on in the last exchange. Got to make sure he doesn't go too aggressive. Meng Mao also getting a couple of shots to his side there. Meng Mao actually taken very low. The biotic grenade keeps him alive. Crew looks for the health though, but French health is falling low, but Deegan manages to get himself the first blood. Mikolo comes in, YJP goes down, and Naiba holds on strong.
Incredible stuff there from France, at least to open things up getting a kill on your opposite number as a DPS player is probably the most important thing you can do. It's going to put you guys way ahead in the fight. And look at this, great little response here. This disengage is excellent. Alphacast on point with the speed boost. They get away from Pungay and then put him to sleep. That's exactly what France needed to do. I applaud Alpha for that response there. That's how the Lucio player should do it. And France are lucky that he responded so fast, because that could have been real ugly.
Yeah, great response, Crew as well. Crew was the man that they was charging after. He managed to back it up, get that tumble backwards, pick himself up the health, get back around and clear it out. And that's actually bought them a lot of percentage. We're already at 25%. This is a quick start for France here. They've got themselves a healthy build-up now. And of course, they've got their ultis. They didn't really expend a great deal to get hold of that. Now, Jamli, he's going to try and get himself position on the top there, see if he can get that Dead-Eyed Raiden to go. The rest of his team are going to follow through. He's going to try and follow through around the back and make them as the distraction. Holds on, nobody shows for him.
Yeah, I mean, China, if they really want to make this ultimate work, they need to use their tanks to create space for Jamli or to create any sort of chaos. Look at this, the response coming in from Digan. He wants to get up close and personal. Great flash, great body grenade, but Digan still gets 2 kills. That's going to be enough to stop China from moving forward. No doubt about it. Pungu at least gets on towards Digan, but Crew's there for the response. And now Pungu and Jamli are kind of, need to get out. Pushed into a little bit of an awkward position.
60% and counting. This is starting to become problematic for China here on night market. France have responded very well. They really didn't use a great deal. Nox still has his Graviton Surge ready and waiting to go. Meng Mao wants to get in and get that Death Blossom going, but there is the ulti. Comes straight on them. The sound barrier comes in. Earth Shatter follows through, and France just obliterate China. Force them back. Thank you very much. Back to your spawn points. 82% and counting. Now they've used all their ultis, so there's a chance for China here because they're going to have a big stack. France have to be careful.
That's a good situation where I think it's okay to use a Graviton then a Earth Shatter because there was a sound barrier, right? So that means China is CC'd for the whole duration of sound barrier, then they're very vulnerable after that expires.
They've got to push, they've got to get on the site, and that's all France know. If they can just stop them getting on the point there. Meng Mao gets picked off early. Digan gets himself a quick double. They try and push on the point. They've just got to keep it alive, but it's all France that are picking up the kills. What has gone wrong here for China? It is disastrous. Meng Mao gets the respawn back, but it doesn't matter. They're forced off the point, and France will take it 2-1. 1 round left, perhaps, for France here to force it into this crazy potential tiebreak situation. Who would have seen this coming?
Could be another revolution here for the French side. They were under the thumb. They really were struggling to actually make any inroads. I thought the King's Row performance was very average, but now, over the course of the series, they've acclimatized and they've solidified. They've solidified roles, more importantly. When you've got a team that's full of flex players or people that will flex, sometimes you just got to find the right formula. So far, so good, Lee. Now we're back to Command Center for possibly the last round here. France could have this 3-way tie in the palm of their hand. Time will tell.
Well, of course, it does all rely on the fact that Thailand need to go and beat Singapore. It is somewhat an unexpected result, I would say. Thailand have looked fantastic so far themselves, which would, of course, potentially cause the 3-way tie with China beating Thailand, Thailand beating France, and France perhaps beating China right here as they go aggressive on Command Center.
Shield very low for Pungu. He's got bursted down so much faster than Mikolos. That's a massively good start for France and win this fight. But Meng Mao captures Mikolo, who receives him and then sends him packing with the Hellfire shotguns. A lot of France being taken down there, and that's just kind of weird, I guess, target prioritization there. They come into that fight with an advantage. They burst down the shield of Pungu, but after that, everything kind of went wrong for them.
Yeah, not really any adjustments from China. They just simply won out the fight. Now, I mentioned it before. I mentioned it on the last map. So far, whoever wins that initial fight has gone on to win the map. And that's looking good for Chinese fans. Cruz managed to pick off Meng Mao there. That was about all there's going to be, though, as Pango goes wild with the hammer and the nano boost. Maybe a little overusage of the ultis there from China, but it holds them back and it gives them another 20+%.
And now we get yourself the Earth Shatter as well. That's one of the most powerful parts about nano boosting a Reinhardt is that if you're Reinhardt without an ult and you get nano boosted, you're going to do so much damage, you're probably going to have an ult after it. It's an ult that feeds another ult on your team. Very effective way to stagger them out and use them wisely. And China are going to have to now as they hold the point. 36%.
Kitty has the nano boost available. Look for that, maybe going on to Mikolau. Crew gets his Deadeye off. Jamli tries to respond to it, but the Graviton Surge comes straight through. He's up on high and he gets sleep darted, I believe, straight away. I can just see the outline of a man on the floor. Crew drops down and he's dealt with ease. Now France used what, 2 ultis there for naught.
That, I mean, that positioning from Crew relies on France actually pushing onto the point. The problem was Crew was up top ready for a Deadeye, but then France got Graviton Surge, so there was nothing to keep China on the point, and Crew didn't have an angle to get any damage done at all.
Yeah, Naibar just getting quick on the sleep dart, knew it was coming. Now they're going to try and push back around the side, but there's Meng Mao, pops out, thank you very much. Death Blossom, Sound Barrier, also going to keep China alive. Now Crew and Kitty have picked themselves up 2 kills. That's the damage dealers of China. China are falling here somewhat unexpectedly. Crew's just keeping the burst going, but YJP is yet to be dealt with. We know he's one of the big damage dealers. He gets nano boosted up, starts to burn Crew down. He's got his Graviton Surge if he needs it. There's the Pango going off wild with the hammer as well. So they've still not cleared out the point. The Graviton Surge used in a 3v3 situation. It's very aggressive, but there was no follow-up. Mikolau manages to get himself the fire strike, takes down Pangu, and now it's back and forth as China respond on the respawn.
China managing to stall this fight out is very good for them. We're already in overtime. France weren't able to flip the point back, and now D-Gun's got a lot on his shoulders. He needs to stamp his authority on this point as China keep pouring in. They keep this game in stasis. France unable to take the point back under their control. It's a flash for Jamli, but he can't complete the kill. There it is. Kitty falls. That's a big support down for France.
The Earth Shatter comes down. That catches all of France on the stairwell. That is not good. They're forced away from the point. The overtime is ticking. They have to try and get back on there. Jamli backs away, but he gets dropped down by Crew. D-Gun manages to strike. Naibar goes down. Nox gets in. Are they going to get the flip around? The Graviton Surge comes in, and China will lose out the point. France managed to cap it out in an elongated fight. Somehow they dig deep and win out.
That was insane. France come back in multiple waves. Even after like a 4-man Earth Shatter from Pangu, they recover, they stall, they get back to the point, and now they're in a position that they can still take this away. They have a Death Blossom. Now sure, it won't be backed up with an Nano Boost, but there'll be a shield from Nox. You can do work with this if you're clever as D-Gun. You're going to need to be sneakier though.
Naibar's got himself in the Nano Boost as well. He can keep your eye on Pangu. The big tank, the Reinhardt.
I like this position.
Oh, no! Oh, he's been fouled! Jamli gets in the top. That's surely going to put the end to France's chances. He's managed to get him. You can see the damage coming through, but it doesn't matter. He can just pop out with the Deadeye. France have to respect it. They've got to back away from the point, and it's very risky because they're at 99%. The sound barrier goes down. Meng Mao's already picked himself up the kills. France are falling. This is going to be China taking command center. We're going to be seeing a 5th round.
You are right, Lee. Jamli is in such a safe position up there as well. We have overtime triggered there as well. D-Gun walks back onto the point. It's going to be a summary execution here for the Reaper. There's not much you can do. This is a pretty annoying stall. Perhaps someone can get in. Yes, there might be enough time. Mikolau getting back on towards the point here. Just him. Flash doesn't connect, but no, he doesn't quite touch the point. Just force back. And China secure one more round to decide it. Today has been incredible for close games, and this one is no exception, Lee. One more stage to decide this one.
Once more into the breach we go. 2-2 here on Lijiang, 1-1 overall. Kings Row going the way of China, Hanamura the way of France. And here on this final map of Night Market, which went the way of France in 100-0 fashion last time around. But every single initial exchange, every single initial fight has decided the map so far, who has taken it. It is so vital that one of these teams come out on top. If China take it, they will 3-0 the group. If France take it, they will be 2-1. Let's see how it goes.
France are ahead by 7k damage in this matchup, and the big difference is Crew has 4k more damage than Jamli. That's a big part of that here. The McCree battle is very important, especially at this stage.
Well, it's going to be Mikolau that finds Pangu down. That's going to be Nox on towards Meng Mao. The rest of China are falling. They're forced to back away. YJP getting picked off. He gets taken down by Alphacast of all people. D-Gun forces in. Crew goes aggressive. He gets himself a couple of shots on Jamli, and it will be France that come out on top in the initial exchange. Is that an omen?
It may well be. I mean, they got themselves more damage, and that's going to mean earlier ultimates at this stage. Also, a very dominant position on the map. It's very hard to retake in Night Market because the holding team moves into the middle of the courtyard and forces you to stand and deliver just like this.
Meng Mao trying to get the shotguns off. It's not working out for him. Crew gets in there. Naibar goes down. Mikolau takes out Pangu once again. This duel head-to-head between the two Reinhardts. Bear in mind, Mikolau comes into this one formerly as a main Roadhog. It seems to be working well. The little transition he's made has worked brilliantly. Now, it wasn't a clean fight. You can see China are still stacked around the corner. France haven't gone looking for them yet. They have themselves a bit of a foothold.
Yeah, why bother looking for them? China has to come for France. They've got to be the ones that make the big decision. But D-Gun, he pulls the trigger in the biggest way possible. 2 kills coming. He's up behind Pangu. It's going to be the Hellfire shotgun put to the back of his head, and the trigger pulled in that way as well.
So China, 45% down They need to get themselves a foothold here. And at the moment, the ult percentage is not in their favor. Nox has himself the Graviton Surge ready. Expect that to maybe be put in this door well if they decide to stack up. Actually, it's line, there's no follow-up, so Nox is going to sit a little further back. He's going to get a vision here around the side. He gets sleep darted, actually. Neighbor manages to find him. They're going to creep around the left-hand side, so it's going to be a fight on point.
This could be dangerous here as well. I mean, that's for China. They're at risk of falling off if they're not careful. Look at D-Gun. He wants to sneak back around. Graviton Surge came in. It catches YJP there. It was actually a mutual Graviton, but YJP didn't get anything for it. Now the Death Blossom comes in here. Mingmao's trying to break the deadlock. He finds Alphacast. Forced to back away. Pungo gets flashed. He's stunned. He gets the Earth Shadow down, but no one's there, in it.
D-Gun manages to get around. He gets himself a second kill. Mengmao down. That's the damage dealers. They still haven't managed to catch out Jamli. He gets forced back. Kitty gets himself a little sleep dart down. He's got himself the nano boost if he wants to use it for a little bit of help instead. They are going to hold the point. They clear it out. Jamli back in there, but he's forced to back away. And France reinforcements have arrived.
China are in big trouble. France have a bank of ultimates ready to go, and 2 of them are defensive or offensive, depending on how you want to use nano boost. The point is, China have no time to waste. They have to push into a situation where they have ult disadvantage. They have to make a mountain out of a molehill, and they have to do it immediately.
We have to see Pango with that hammer swinging wildly. They're getting onto the point. They're going to start the recap here. France are going to go for the retake here. They've waited. They've deliberated. Deegan gets sleep darted, but he doesn't get dealt with. He was nano boosted up. Mengmao goes looking for the kills. He gets himself a couple, but it is just back and forth. YJP's been dealt with. YJP down. That's a big shield picked off. Nox is beaming away. Can't get himself the kill. Mengmao will find Deegan, and it's France that are in trouble.
Their Death Blossom available for Mengmao here as well, and that's exactly what China had to do. Now it's going to be Alphacast knocked away, swatted backwards to trying to take control. Let's just chill on this one a little bit there. We have to recognize that China won that one, was so far behind in ultimates.
Mikhail just took Pango off the map.
I don't know if that's worthwhile. You trade 1 for 1, but you don't have control. You don't want to make moves as rash as that. Perhaps he didn't intend to go off the edge. France need to take a deep breath and come back in.
I think it was because he was going to die anyway, so he's like, you know what? I've seen the angle. I'm going for it.
He's ahead of his team there as well. I mean,
yeah.
You don't ever want to be in that position where you're going to die anyway. But here's a Graviton.
Graviton Surge from Nox goes in there. The Deadeye follows it from Groupe, and Jamli quickly gets Nox and Mikhail down. That's going to work out. The flash gets Mengmao down. The question is there any more follow-up? They lost 2 members on the initial exchange, which is less than ideal. Crew can't get past that big shield. That is the danger of a McCree, and Jamli strikes.
Jamli looking very good there as well. The flash was perfectly timed. He was waiting for Crew to try and get around the shield. France need to slow down. They're split up. They don't want to die here. They just need to back away and try and get to safety, but YJP's not going to allow that to happen. He's the gatekeeper, and he's sending him one way. That's south for the winner. France now need to group up. China have made up this deficit in a big way.
It's going to be, what, 80-90% before France get in. This is the final fight building up, the final boss. Whatever happens here, France will either go out the tournament or force a potential tiebreaker. YJP has the Graviton Surge, and they might just go aggressive with it. Earthshatter comes down, Mikhail gets pulled in, Alphacast gets himself Pangu. So that's a good start. YJP backs away, he's got full charge, Deegan gets himself a quick double, and France push on through. They're on the point, they're starting to cap it out. 96% and counting, but if they keep China out, that is going to be all over. France may well have done it. They've got themselves the point, and they will take it. China cannot get back from the spawn in time. Oh my god, they have. They've just touched it. Oh, that's going to be all it's going to be. Jamli will get taken down, and he's not going to be out of hold. France, in an elongated fight, will eventually take the round, and it's going to be 2-1. Holy cow! What have we witnessed here today? So many upsets, so many changes. France take it 2-1. That means they are now 2 wins and 1 loss in the groups, alongside China. Thailand, over to you.
France have run the gauntlet all the way through this tournament, but coming up against China, credit to them. They found their formula. They weren't messing around with it. They stuck to their guns and they hung in there. It went as long as it possibly could have. And again, another team really showing grit and determination to get through. And they've created a very interesting scenario here.
This is a team that a lot of people were saying were very lucky in the qualifiers, very lucky in the draw. They got themselves a weak entry. They managed to take down Norway, but they have proved themselves to countrymen and I think internationally taking down China there. Let's get over to the desk to take down that epic encounter.
Wow, guys, I don't think that could have been a closer match. That was absolutely insane.
It was.
Do we speak French now?
You know, grats to France. They pulled it out. But I'm surprised, though. I mean, China kind of seemed to fall apart a little bit in that one, didn't they?
Well, here's what our group looks like as a result.
Wow.
We've got two
I think we know.
T1s leading the top, and then depending on how things go for Thailand and Singapore, well, you know what, why don't we just tie the whole thing up?
That's right.
Pretty likely.
If Thailand wins and we get a three-way tie, we will be doing round robins of best of threes on Nepal until one team gets a 2-0 and another team gets a 1-1.
Or until the caster
Well,
pair dies.
They call it they call it Thailand for a reason. I think we're gonna go there pretty soon. Yep.
Well, we got a lot to talk about with
Yes,
this
we do.
match that we just watched, China versus France. We started things off many moons ago on King's Row, and that was where we got our first indication that maybe this wasn't going to be a long match, and then we were proven wrong.
Well,
No kidding.
I liked the start on the Zenyatta McCree versus the Farah, so they had to make that switch immediately for Crew going from the Farah to the Reaper. So they had that strong hold, and this is the map that France won on yesterday versus Thailand. France frankly looked weaker on some of the assault and control maps. So I was a bit surprised that they would fall this early and then come back on the more brawly maps.
It really confused me, the fact that they didn't take advantage of China having a Zenyatta. Like, the big counter to him is your speed and how quickly you can attack. They only went through the hotel once to actually kind of force them back into the archway and to kind of fight them on a really good position. So I think there was definitely some miscommunication in there. Also, there's a lot of miscommunication and ult usage that we saw with like 4 or 5 ultimates being committed when they only needed maybe 1 or 2. But that cleaned itself up later on Lijiang Tower.
And I feel like we saw the reverse true from China, where they were crisper at the beginning, and then over the course of the map, when we watched them play on Hanamura, for example, they had a huge ult advantage. One of the members of China got picked off, and then they committed 5 ults to a 5v6, and I think they could have pushed through. It's like bizarre decision-making. And by bizarre, I mean poor.
Strangely bizarre. Because they've looked so good so far up until now. But
Well, Hanamura as well was really interesting too, because there was a certain thing that happened with Mei v Mei, and I always talked about this. There's another counter to Mei besides having a really aggressive composition who jumps over the wall, and we have a replay of it, so we can go and get that on your screen and kind of show you how it went down. It was involved with using a line of sight mechanic of Mei, where you need to be able to see where your wall is going to go down to place it in a good position. So we can get this one rolling. You're going to see YJP actually put the wall in a diagonal to allow them to push straight through into the right room, and you have D-Gun, which you can see his arrow. He's like under the wooden planks down towards the left of Crew. He doesn't have the correct angle to really put a wall down to close him off easily, so he's forced to adjust his position. We'll get the replay going now, and you can see the wall wasn't really in a great place because of this. Obviously, it didn't work out for China, but it's nice to see teams know and learn how to adapt to that Mei v Mei battle. Instead of being closed out completely, use your own Mei wall to get yourself in.
Yeah, normally the Chinese wall is a little bit more effective historically, but today France pulled it through. They made it work. I'm proud of those guys.
Yeah, they built a heck of a wall there, and that was going to give them the victory on Hanamura, especially after some crazy fights on that second point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah.
But really, I think all the action happened on Lijiang Tower. That's where things started to really get crazy, and this is where we saw Crew pulling out a bunch of different heroes, everyone trying to respond to everyone as quickly as possible, and great success on both sides.
Well, we also saw a lot of crucial errors. And as an analyst, I like to pick apart things.
Tear it up.
So, I mean, we could take a look at a replay right now.
Yep.
This was actually a point that we saw China eventually doing well on, but this kind of goes, the coordination not really there. So we can go ahead and get this rolling, and you'll see it was a pretty critical fight here that China was going for up against France, and they are at 99%, but they allowed France to get back into this game simply because their supports were trying to run away from the Reinhardt and ejected themselves, bunny hopped right off the edge of the map. Because we were, the casters were saying there, it was like, well, was it a boop? What happened? No, they literally just ran out of land to jump on, got terrified by Mikolo's Reinhardt, and then that allowed France to start to mount a comeback in that map. But it's a little bit of sloppiness here and there from both sides, and that opened up a lot of space for both teams.
Well, when you see that, is that a factor of respect? Is this where China started giving France maybe too much respect?
What is going on?
On the stage.
What's going on back there?
It's okay. Mickey's okay.
Go Thailand.
Thailand.
That's not a good sign for the game coming up, is it?
Never leave us, Thailand.
They're favored to win, guys. Really, they're pro gamers. They're not pro.
They have to learn how to crawl before they walk.
walkers, really, it's.
I gotta say,
we're working
in-game
on it.
they're much better.
Yeah. There was
that's
also
right.
some great plays on Lijiang Tower out of France to bring it back to the game. D-Gun, his positioning was really good, actually. I kind of criticized a couple of his hero picks, but his Reaper kind of really started to excel. We can get the Reaper on your screen and show you exactly what we're referring to when we're on Night Market. You can see him waited on the underside, and no one on China actually knew he was there until they finally dropped down and actually looked around the corner. You can see, I think that was, yeah, Meng Mao was able to spot him out, forces D-Gun into a side position, but because now they're forced and tunneled into this and channeled into this tight area, it's really hard to fight your way back out of that one. Yep, we're professional, we're mature. Hey, the guy just fell off the stage. We'll talk about that some more.
Sorry, you just let out a fart and we couldn't let it go.
Oh, it's been a long day.
It's getting to be that time of day. Hey, who's excited for tiebreakers? That's
I am.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have a little more action from the game that we do want to talk to you about, so we can call up the rest of the replays and really start to pick apart what happened here, going all the way back to King's Row.
Well, my boy Pangu doing what he can, and I'm looking forward to the Li Jiangtao replays because you know, when you look at it, it was really Jam Lee. There he is right there, Jam Lee, having a great series and trying to carry as hard as he can, but in the end it just wasn't enough. But you know, I almost quoted Linkin Park there. That was scary.
In the end, it didn't even matter.
In the end, it didn't even matter. But, you know, after King's Row, we were like, all right, 2-0 China. Looks that way. But, man, I can't believe that France brought it back.
Honestly, I think Miklo had a phenomenal game yet again. Against Thailand, he had so many great Earth Shatters, and I guarantee there's going to be at least one in this clip. And considering he was playing like the Roadhog for them initially, then he was flexed to the Zarya, and they realized, well, okay, maybe Zarya doesn't fit him too well. Reaper as well didn't really fit his kit and his skill set. But moving him over while we were here into the Reinhardt position was fantastic, and he really performed well.
Yeah.
It was true yesterday, too, when he was playing against Thailand. He was one of the standout players from France, even in that very narrow loss. We saw it again today. He was so feared, even people choosing to jump off the map instead of actually confronting him.
That's not normally what you do.
Depends on how afraid you are, Doa. Depends on how afraid you are.
Yeah, I mean, because we see people jump off the map as resetting all the time, but that wasn't reset. That was just straight up an accident.
Yeah, that was a tough spot there.
I mean, at the high level of Overwatch, it's about who makes the most mistakes and who can capitalize the best off of that. So, I mean, obviously, these two teams are very well experienced in playing professionally.
Sometimes it's like that at the lower levels of Overwatch as well.
It's about who makes the least mistakes.
I mean, any way you slice it, you know, no matter which one of these teams makes it through the playoff, there's going to need to be a little bit of cleaning up that needs to be done with some of the ult usage, some of the strategic decision making.
Well, I think that this Group D, whoever comes out of here either in first or second place is probably not making it beyond the quarterfinals with a lot of the other really tough matchups and I would say more competitive groups that we've had.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We've seen a lot of weaknesses, like China. Like, for instance, coming into this, I expected China to be one of the best teams. Like, they all played against each other so often. They're all pro players. They were literally just playing in the Overwatch APAC Premier, whether it was IGI's following a little bit earlier on. But the fact they had played against each other so many times, you would think they would have the synergy or maybe the understanding of how to kind of play a solid meta. But as you pointed out, Monty, in the beginning they were clean, they were crisp. But as it went on, they fell apart.
Odd.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe nerves, pressure, tough to say. I mean, they're going to have, you know, maybe another chance to fight it out. It really kind of depends on what happens in our next best of 5, really. Or best of,
That's a great segue, Doa, as I throw us to a commercial break, because we're going to come right back with Singapore versus Thailand.